Man, I don't want to say the wrong thing and make this call go sideways. How many times have you thought that in the middle of a mental health crisis call? In this video, I'm going to show you 3 things to avoid doing that can unintentionally make a crisis call harder to manage. Here's number 1. Don't let emotion drive your response. Let's face it, mental health crisis calls can be frustrating. We're trying to communicate with someone who's emotional and not thinking clearly, keep the scene safe, and operate within policies and procedures that sometimes feel like they're tying our hands. And oh yeah, by the way, resolve the situation quickly, there's calls holding. That kind of pressure can start changing how we respond. We lose patience, change our tone, and become more focused on our objectives than listening and understanding. Sometimes it causes us to respond before we've really thought about how we want to handle it. When someone's yelling, emotional, paranoid, or overwhelmed, it's easy to just immediately react to what they're saying. But not every emotional statement requires an immediate response from us. Sometimes the best thing we can do is slow ourselves down first. We need to take a breath and give ourselves enough space to choose our response instead of just reacting automatically. Because once we let emotion start driving the interaction, the conversation usually becomes harder to manage. So before we focus on getting the person in crisis emotionally regulated, we need to make sure we're regulating ourselves first. Okay, here's the second thing to avoid doing on a crisis call. Don't rush the process. These calls take time. People repeat themselves. They talk in circles, and progress can feel painfully slow. And meanwhile, you're getting that pressure to clear the call from dispatch, your supervisor, or even your internal voice telling you, I can't stay here all day, dude. But when safety allows, slowing things down often helps us more than it hurts us. It gives us time to listen, gather information, understand what's really going on, and make better decisions. It also gives the person in crisis an opportunity to settle down emotionally and engage more effectively in the conversation. The problem is that when we start pushing the pace, we can unintentionally add pressure to an already stressful situation. And when people feel pressured, they often become less willing to talk, listen, and engage. That's why when safety allows, slowing things down often gives us the best chance of moving the conversation forward without escalating. Now, obviously, there are situations where immediate action is necessary because of safety concerns. Times when slowing things down simply isn't an option. Context matters, and safety has to drive the decision. But when we're able to slow things down safely, we often create opportunities that simply aren't there when we're rushing. All right, here's the third thing to avoid doing on crisis calls. Don't become overly rigid. Sometimes we get so focused on policy, procedure, and safety concerns, we start seeing only one way to solve the problem. The challenge is that people in crisis don't always respond well when they feel like they're being pushed down a single path. To them, we begin to sound like, do this right now or else. And the harder we push, the harder they push back. Now, that doesn't mean we ignore policy, safety concerns, or the law. Obviously, those things matter. But when we have some flexibility, we should use it. Sometimes there are multiple ways to get to the same outcome. And more often than not, giving someone a little room to calm down and consider their options gets us further than trying to force the issue. We're not giving up control. We're just trying not to make the conversation harder than it needs to be. We all know that crisis calls are challenging and how easy it is to feel pressured and frustrated in the moment. But when we avoid doing the 3 things we talked about here, reacting emotionally, rushing the process, or becoming overly rigid, we put ourselves in a much better position to keep things moving in the right direction. So remember to regulate your own emotions, slow things down when it's safe to do so, and stay flexible when handling the call. Those three things can go a long way toward keeping the call on track. If you found value in this video, be sure to subscribe so you keep getting these kinds of practical crisis communication tools built for the street. Because crisis is difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'll see you in the next video.